Hello Exiles, and welcome to another video. 2 weeks after the league started, and I finally got a new build going that I think is worthy of sharing. One of the key items in this build is the new Hallowed Monarch helmet, which makes all our linked minions super tanky with 65 to 75% less damage taken. This is for hits and damage over time, by the way. And the most important mod is basically giving our linked minions a Headhunter. I think it's better to have a map showcase first, unlike my usual video format, where the map showcase is at the end. I'm running a T16.5 map with my now favorite map mod, Rare Monsters Are Shaper Touched. Random scarabs for additional rares and mobs. Just for the showcase. Not really any farming strategy here. Basic gameplay loop for this build. Jump around, convocation, hold down flame link, and move your cursor around to link all your minions. No need to target them. Smite for the damage aura, and press everything else if you need more damage. Just keep your flame link up and button smash. The flame link's duration is 16 seconds, so you don't have to keep pressing it every 3 seconds like a maniac like me. Yes, this is not a one-button build. I could automate some of these, but this build is very starved in sockets. Also, before any of you comments, yes, I forgot to turn off the global chat, and yes, I'm in the Minion channel. You can tell that I'm used to playing semi-immortal builds by how I'm diving into packs. Now you see why I like the Shaper-touched mob. Imagine 4 Shaper beams at your disposal. Mapping is a 10 for me. Defenses need more work since we don't have any ES on hit or on block. Can do T17S, but avoid some rippy mods. Don't need a mage blood to get started. My initial budget when testing this was 40 divs. It might be 60 to 70 divines now with the upgrades I made. With that said, definitely not a league start build. If you're still here, I'm guessing you liked the map showcase. Here's how I've come up with the build. As usual, I was trying to make something out of the new uniques that were released this league. Including the new Foulborn uniques and the new Bloodline Ascendancies, there are tons of new build options to try out. As a fan of unusual minion builds, one unique that caught my eye is Bone Meld. Aside from the +2 minion gem levels, I was intrigued by the minions gain added resistances equal to 50% of your resistance. You could also add quality to this to make it 60% of your resistance. So, what can we do with stacking minion resistance? Looking at the new Foulborn uniques, I found 2 things that go well with minion resistances. The Foulborn Formless Flame and the Foulborn Skin of the Lords, equipped to an Animate Guardian of Smiting. The Formless Flame increases the AG's armor based on your overcapped resistance. One Foulborn mod also gives 30% of fire damage from hits taken as physical damage. If we can stack the AG's armor high enough, then it's a huge defensive upgrade. For the Skin of the Lords, one of the new Foulborn mods gives you 50% increased elemental and chaos resistances. The increased wording makes it multiplicative, which means if you have 400% fire resistance, equipping this armor will bump your fire resistance to 600%. This is a great synergy with Formless Flame and Bone Meld. The Skin of the Lords should also have the keystone Iron Reflexes, the importance of which I'll explain in a while. So now that our AG has tons of increased armor, we can turn it to damage by using 2 Replica Dream Feather, which gives our AG 1% increased attack damage per 450 armor. Our AG is now looking like the usual armor stacker builds, but in minion form. To finish his equipment, we equip him with Soul Ascension for Soul Eater buff, which gives him a huge amount of attack speed, and Relikesh's Impatience, which provides him with Frenzy charges for more damage. Now that our Animate Guardian's gear is complete, let's move on to our own gear. Most armor stacker builds I know are also aura stackers, since the build makes use of the synergy, stacking aura effect to bump up the more armor from Determination aura and the more evasion from Grace aura, and using the keystone Iron Reflexes. If you're familiar with armor stacker builds, then you can skip this section. In simplest terms, Iron Reflexes removes all your evasion rating, after increases and more multipliers, and adds it to your base armor, which would then be affected by increases and more multipliers to armor. To help you visualize this, let's say you have a base 10,000 evasion, 10,000 armor, 100% increased evasion, 500% increased armor, 60% more evasion, and 150% more armor. Your total evasion would be 10,000 multiplied by 2 for the increase, and multiplied again by 1.6 for the more multiplier, which gives you a total evasion of 32,000. With Iron Reflexes allocated, your total evasion would be removed and added to your base armor for armor calculation. Your total armor now would be 10,000 plus the 32,000 evasion, multiplied by 6 for the increase, and multiplied again by 2.5 for the more multiplier, which gives you a total of 630,000 armor and 0 evasion. For context, a level 30 AG of Smiting has 32,000 base armor and 9,800 base evasion, without any additional base values from gear or auras. Multiply that by hundreds of overcapped fire resistance, and that equates to hundreds of increased armor. Your AG would easily have 1 million armor that would translate to tons of increased attack damage from your Replica Dream Feathers. This is why our AG's Skin of the Lords should have an Iron Reflexes keystone. Apparently, keystones from items work for Animate Guardians. And this is also why the build for our actual character is basically an aura bot, and your AG is the armor stacker. Now that's out of the way, let's move on to the actual character's Ascendancy choice, character gear, and passives. I went Guardian because of its aura and defensive nodes. Small nodes leading to Unwavering Faith gives aura effect. Radiant Faith gives armor and energy shield to you and allies based on your reserved mana. Unwavering Faith gives us 50% increased reservation efficiency, which frees up some passive points and saves us Divines for a Voices Cluster Jewel. My mistake at first was trying to run the build too early without the gear needed by allocating Unwavering Crusade. I forgot that if the Elemental Relic dies or runs out of duration and you're linked to it, you will also die. I also tried the King's Heritage from the All Bloodline. For me, it was not worth the 2 Ascendancy points, and you're restricted to not using endurance charges. I got Bastion of Hope for the block chance and Harmony of Purpose for the shrine buffs. You can go Time of Need instead of the Shrine 1 for some clutch healing, but I liked the chaos of random shrines better. Also, you have a chance of great defensive buffs from the shrines. Add the Runegraft of the Warp so that your buffs lasts longer. This includes your Flame Link and Val Smite buffs. The passives are what you've expected. Get all the mana reservation efficiency and the aura effects. We're using an intuitive leap here to save 3 points Amulet Anoint for the champion of the cause. I'm using a Elegant Hubris. If you've seen my video before, you know I like the Elegant Hubris placement here. It gives us 12% reservation efficiency and 24% aura effect. Get one for Caspiro to get the Supreme Ostentation Keystone. This makes gearing easier since we don't care about attribute requirements. We can also use tattoos to increase our ES and stun avoidance. More ES here from Light of Meaning combo plus Unnatural Instinct. Watcher's Eye for some more defenses. Abyss Jewel for corrupted blood and base damage, and resistances for our minions. For our clusters, we're using 2 large clusters and 4 mana reservation small clusters. I'm using 1 minion damage, large cluster with Feasting Friends and Renewal for more survivability and double damage chance. The other large cluster is for lightning damage, but the elemental damage one will do. I don't care about the other passive. I only need corrosive elements, so I could trigger my Aegis Tollgraft, which gives me a shield for elemental hits. For the small clusters, you're looking for 25% increased effect, plus other good mods like Fire Resistance, Mana, or Energy Shield. Whispers of Doom for the additional curse. Our curse is Conductivity, which comes from the Storming Eshgraft. That's 1 gem slot saved. It also gives us a huge chunk of base damage and lucky hits, which is God-sent for lightning builds. The other curse is Elemental Weakness. Lastly, we're running Chaos Inoculation. More levels, and I'll get the lucky spell Suppress here. That's it for the passive tree. As I've said earlier, the amulet we're using is Bone Meld. You only need the +2 minion level here. The Corrupted Aura effect is a plus. Bone Meld makes it easy to cap your minions' resistances, also translates to more damage for our AG. The helm we're using is the Hallowed Monarch, which I already talked about earlier. One thing to add is the mod Link skills can target damageable minions. This saves us at least 4 passive points to get that from our tree. You can make do without the Corrupt implicit by removing 1 defensive buff like Flesh and Stone or Tempest Shield. You don't need a level 4 Enlighten if you don't have the helm implicit. Since we're using links, and I can't believe I finally made a build using links that actually work, we can make use of the Hand of Frisia to give us up to 40% aura effect, but your auras only affect you and your linked allies. This downside also synergizes with Rune Graft of Treachery, which negates the downside of the graft that makes your aura affect your enemies. Another gear to synergize with link skills is the Belt Censure of Benevolence. This makes our non-unique utility flasks apply to our linked minions. This is a huge boost to damage and quality of life. We have Quicksilver for movement speed, so our melee minions can get to the enemies faster. Basalt Flask, more armor, more damage. Silver Flask for onslaught. Quartz Flask for phasing, since melee Spectre pathing needs some help. They sometimes target the monsters at the back of the pack, and when they get body blocked, they just stop doing anything. Last Flask is a Stibnite Flask for more evasion, which gives more damage with iron reflexes. Boots are the usual march of the Legion for +5 to 7 levels to our Veil Smite. Body armor is a high ES rare armor. Find one that has a T1 ES fracture, then slam Essence of Loathings until you get good ES rolls. Fractured 6 links are so cheap in this league. For the rings, I'm using 1 bone ring. Mods to look for are ES, Mana, Fire Resistance, Minion Resistances, Minion Damage, or Minion Attack Speed. Make sure you have 1 open prefix for the -mana cost craft. The other ring is an unset ring. Same mods as the bone ring, minus the minion mods. Of course, +3 socketed gems. Mod is required so that you can get your Purity of Fire to level 23, which gives you an additional 3% max fire resistance. Given that you have enough aura effect, use another bone ring instead if you have 1 less aura. Finally, the weapon and shield. I'm using an Elder weapon plus the Squire combo to have a pseudo 9 link. This weapon is easily made with recombination, or you can just buy it. Mods to look for are +1 to socketed gems, Ruthless, Ancestral Call, Multi-Strike, and increased critical strikes. Avoid brutality as it will brick your build. Also, the socketed melee gems in mine is useless. Phew, this is the longest build explanation I've made. Finally, for the gems. All the 50% reservation gems will be linked with Enlighten in the body armor, Grace, Haste, Determination, Wrath, and Purity of Elements. I've already mentioned Purity of Fire in the unset ring. The last 4 auras, Discipline, Flesh and Stone, Tempest Shield, technically not an aura, and Clarity. AG of Smiting, linked with Awakened minion damage, and Empower in the weapon, since we make use of the +1 gems. Elemental damage with attacks, Volatility, and Awakened Elemental Focus in the shield, Smite, Flame Link, and Elemental Weakness, linked with Inspiration for less mana costs for these skills. Raise Spectre linked with Feeding Frenzy Convocation, and lastly, Leap Slam for travel. Frost Blink of Wintry might be better. Oh, one last thing Spectres used. Perfect Hulking Miscreation for damage and attack speed to constructs. Perfect Spirit of Fortune for lucky lightning damage since our graft is not always active. Last but definitely not least, Perfect Half-Remembered Goliath. Number 1, it looks awesome. Number 2, it does good damage for clearing white mobs. For a 2-link, I'm speculating that the 100% effects of Link's mod, it has somehow applies to auras because of Hand of Frisia. Needs further testing. Tapping. Dominated, the master of Spectre testing. It might be a future variation of this build without the AG. Well, that's all I have for the build. Probably will still try to get better defenses. Also craft an 11-link weapon for more DPS. PoB in the description. It's bloated by the Soul Eater stack, so probably 30% lower than the total DPS shown. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying for all of my yapping. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. Let me know in the comments if you decided to try out the build or if you have any suggestions. See you in the next video.